We're very happy about this. This is a man, if you know a great deal about music, you know a great deal about this man. If you only know a little bit about music, you still know about this man. He's one of those guys where, oh, I've heard that name before. And in fact, he is what is he, Paul? He's a pioneer. He's an icon.
He is.
He changed the music industry.
He sure did.
He's still doing it.
Continues to bring great music in front of the public week after week.
That's right. And we're going to visit with him tonight. He is a multiple Grammy Award winner, a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His remarkable 5-decade career has established him as one of the most powerful forces in the history of the music business. His best-selling memoir entitled The Soundtrack of My Life will be out in paperback next week. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Clive Davis. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for being here. I don't want to embarrass you, but I think I'm right about this, that while people may not know exactly what it is you do in music, they certainly have heard the name and associate you with music. And tell people, well, it's impossible in a short period of time. Tell them what you do, though.
What I do? Well, I began Arista Records after having served as president of Columbia Records for about 6 or 7 years. And I sign artists and discover them and sometimes reestablish major, wonderful artists to show how long a career can last.
Now, it's interesting to me, you speak of a long career, and in music, we think in terms of shorter careers. But you have 5 decades had the career making artists and hits and so forth, and not really from a musical background yourself.
That's true. I got into music by luck. I lost my parents when I was a teenager. I had $4,000 to my name. I studied law. I became a lawyer. And through luck, I became lawyer for Columbia Records, and one day, overnight, became its president.
Wow. And then you went to... They're happy because it's nice to see a lawyer making good.
That's right.
And then there was, I don't know if they still have this musical event in California, the Monterey Pops Festival.
Oh, well.
And you went there. In what capacity did you have?
I was head of the company, but I was watching, observing. You know, you don't come in and change music overnight or learn a new profession. I was there and it changed my life.
Who did you see? What acts? What artists?
Well, the principal one was Big Brother and the Holding Company, featuring Janis, Joplin.
Right.
And so that day, musically, culturally, socially, changed my life forever. I saw this group, I saw Janis, pulsating, vibrating, compelling, an incredible white soul sister, probably the greatest of all time. And I just was determined to sign her as my first artist signing.
Now, how old a man are you in this photograph at that festival? How old a guy were you at the festival?
I was 35.
35. So, not probably the age of the rest of the audience, but you could observe...
No, I was there in a tennis sweater and khaki pants, and they were there in flowing robes and beads, and I sort of stood out entirely.
Now, you are certainly aware of the role that the Ed Sullivan Theater has played in popular music, both on the Ed Sullivan Show and then here now.
Without question, yes.
Every great artist in popular music has appeared on this stage. You must have been in this building many, many times.
I was indeed. I was indeed.
Tell us about your relationship with Lou Reed.
I have very vivid memories of the great Lou Reed, who sadly passed away this past week. He was truly one of the real originals of contemporary music. And I had just formed Arista Records. We were about 2 years old, and he and I were becoming friends, and he wanted me to get to know him better. So he said, you got to accompany me on the walk on the wild side and see after midnight what New York is really like. And he took me, I'll never forget it, you know, to the clubs, cutting-edge rock music, avant-garde social life. And yet there's the other side of Lou Reed that I wanted him to know about me. And I invited him to my apartment in Central Park West over Thanksgiving, the Macy's Day Parade. I'll never forget watching Lou in great punk regalia, munching on a bagel with cream cheese and lox. And there's one short anecdote about Lou. it was Sunday. We were becoming real good friends. I called him up. I said, it's real sunny today. And one of my great A&R men, Bob Fiden, had invited us to a cabana on Atlantic Beach. I called him and I said, Lou, let's go. We'll spend the day together. We'll listen to music. We'll get to really know each other on Atlantic Beach in this cabana. And there was a pause. And Lou said, Clive, if I ever get a tan, I've lost my entire career.
The picture we saw was you, Lou Reed, and Andy Warhol.
Yes.
And I mean, these are the people that you lived and spent your life with, really.
Well, you're talking about the early years,
Yeah.
there's no question. I mean, I've gone on with Arista to discover Whitney Houston and to work with Aretha Franklin and Dionne Warwick and the Grateful Dead.
What about, for example, Bruce Springsteen? What was your role in his career? Or
Okay.
early stories. Give us an early story of you and Bruce Springsteen.
Okay. Well, Bruce was brought to me by John Hammond, a great A&R man, and he played his music for me, and I saw him as a real original. I mean, someone who was not just the new Bob Dylan or another Bob Dylan. That was the kiss of death in those days. And so I was excited. I signed him, and I get the album, and I just saw a video that Bruce did in my honor, which touched me because he said, you know, Clive heard my album, and he called me up and he said, you know, there's no radio hits on this album. Could you try to take a shot and maybe one or two more cuts? And Bruce said, you know, I didn't retreat into the normal artist ego. I said, you know, maybe he has a point. And he said he went on to write Blinded by the Light and Spirit in the Night. So he called that a real good call. And you know, Bruce, when I first signed him, he stood very stationary. You know, it was not that he has since become the greatest, to me, live performer in
sure.
rock music. Yeah. And I was trying to show that music is not that every few years you get the media saying music is dying. And so I took over a theater in LA for 7 nights. I put all different artists together, Miles Davis with Bruce Springsteen, with Johnny Mathis, and classical music. Anyway, Bruce comes on this stage. It's an enormous stage, and he was just standing there. So in rehearsal, I went up and I walked him from one side of the stage to the other. I said, you know, when you play a place like this, you got to take advantage of it. Fast forward, 2 years later, I founded Arista. We were not connected. He was still on Columbia, of course. And he played The Bottom Line, and he invited me down. You got to see what I'm doing now. And I went down there, and there was the great Bruce Springsteen emerging, jumping on tables, you know, so live, so energetic, so compelling. I was amazed, and the show was over. I walked back to his dressing room, and he looked at me. He said, so Clive, did I move around enough for you tonight?
It's hard to believe when you look at this picture of you and Bruce Springsteen. In that picture, who knows more about moving to music, the guy on the left or the guy on the right? Let's do one more. Let's see here. Well, what about the Grateful Dead?
Well,
I mean, my gosh, the range, just everybody is on this list. The Grateful Dead. Tell us something about that organization.
Okay. When I was head of Columbia, I met with them in a long tabled conference room in San Francisco because they were unhappy with their record label. And they felt, my God, you put tickets for the Grateful Dead concerts on sale and you could sell out Madison Square Garden 7 nights in a row, and their album would come out and they would get a fraction of those sales. So they had decided that they would, with their next release, go independent and sell their album on Good Humor ice cream trucks all over America. And that there's no question their audience will be found. So they asked me and 2 or 3 other heads of companies what our opinion was. And I told them they're going to have a nightmare, that they're going to have a big credit and collection problem, they're going to have a radio promotion problem. That eventually came to pass. And I was very touched, because here I had formed Arista about 2 or 3 years previous, and I get a call that everything I told them would happen did happen, and they want to be on this relatively brand new company, Arista Records. So it's a very touching memory that I have of the Grateful Dead. When you start a company, you could sign an artist like the Grateful Dead in your second or third year, you're really doing something.
You know, it reminded me when you mentioned you had a meeting with the group. There was another story, a meeting with, I think it was with Janis Joplin and her band, and there was a surprise at the end of the meeting as they got up to leave. Does this ring a bell with you?
Yes, it rings a
yes. Well,
resounding
tell them
bell.
the story.
Yeah, well, she had been in my office, and I was trying to say, look, the CBS building is a beautiful, great, classic
This
building.
is here in New York City.
This is right here in New York City. And I said, you know, don't think of us as establishment. I said, because I really want to give, sign to my label, to Columbia Records rather, you know, the real cutting edge artists. At that time, when it came two things, when it came to signing the contract, she said, this is too formal, this is too establishment. And she made a direct overture to go to bed with me. She said, that would be meaningful, that would be personal.
It would.
So I was flattered, I declined. We go down a few flights to a conference room where the rest of Big Brother and the holding company was. And, you know, we had an exchange. I said, you know, how comfortable I want creative artists to be here. And then as we ended the meeting, you know, one of the guys stood up and he was standing there naked.
Yeah.
And so she cackled, as only Janis can. She says, you see how formal we are.
And that's the only kind of meetings I attend, by the way. The great Clive Davis, ladies and gentlemen, the soundtrack of my life. Out on paperback next week. Great to have you here. Thank you very much, Clive.
Thank you so much.
much.